Welcome back to Red and Blue. The Justice Department is appealing a federal judge's decision to ban the use of one of the country's most commonly used abortion drugs. The ruling has drawn strong reactions from both sides of the political aisle.
I would. Yes, I would. This is an issue that Republicans have been largely on the wrong side of. We have, over the last 9 months, not shown compassion towards women.
This ruling is an extreme abuse of power. It is an extraordinary example of judicial overreach.
CBS News reporter Sarah Ewall-Wice joins us now. Sarah, thanks for being here. How do you process these rulings, the one in Texas, the one in Washington State, the new appeal? How do you cover all of these different moving parts on the abortion policy story?
You know, it's tricky because they all intersect. So we're talking about a ruling in Texas that would have national implications. When Roe versus Wade was overturned, it returned the decision on abortion to states. But this ruling essentially takes that right away from states by blanket banning this medication, which has been used successfully in abortions across the country for 20 years. And so there's that specific decision by this one judge who was appointed by former President Donald Trump. Then you have the separate case in Washington, really contradicting that by a separate judge. Of course, this is all going to be combined moving forward, eventually potentially making its way all the way to the United States Supreme Court, where we could see another decision. But really what this means is each individual piece of this has to come together at some point with national implications. And people are reacting to it as if it has national implications because this specific ruling in Texas would.
So an appeals court in New Orleans will now hear the case?
So this is going to go to the Fifth Circuit, and that is actually a conservative court, which is expected to have a more conservative-leaning ruling on this. But of course, it depends really on how this moves forward. So basically, the Justice Department is asking them to stay this and not move forward with it. Of course, we expect this eventually to immediately make its way all the way up to the Supreme Court.
You think the Supreme Court will be compelled to take it up?
I think they'll have to at the end of the day. I think either side will continue this fight all the way to the end because this is about abortion rights, specifically this medication, but it also has implications for other things because it deals specifically with the FDA approval process. And that has not been looked at before. And so this could open that Pandora's box, if you will, into other potential medications and raise questions about other drugs already on the market, already being used, depending on who decides to take them up and go with them.
So there's this legal track that's playing out with these different rulings now going to an appeals court, potentially then to the Supreme Court. There's also the political track. When you look at the recent judicial election in Wisconsin, how do you think that could affect or influence the early conversation on abortion rights ahead of the 2024 presidential campaign?
So this was a really interesting race because one of the candidates, the liberal candidate in this race, Judge Janet Protasiewicz, she was literally running her campaign talking specifically about abortion rights. She was talking about the ban in Wisconsin. It's an 1849 ban, and that she could potentially be called to rule on that on the state Supreme Court. Of course, with that said, people turned out for this election. It's a spring election that took place in April. Usually there's lower turnout. This is the highest turnout we've seen in this type of election in the spring. And at the same time, while that was going on, we're talking about who turned out. These were mostly young people who turned out. She beat Dan Kelly 55% to 44%. And if you look at where the highest turnout was, University of Wisconsin, Madison, Dane County. And so this could have implications moving forward because, of course, we also saw what was happening specifically in the midterm election and how that drew people out in places like Pennsylvania, like Nevada, like New Hampshire, where abortion rights was one of the top issues. And I expect to see similar turnout or at least talk of this heading into 2024.
Talking about 2024, many Republican potential contenders, have been talking about a 15-week ban on abortion for a long time. But now Florida Governor Ron DeSantis appears to be moving toward a 6-week ban in Florida. What's your latest reporting on what he's up to and what that could mean for abortion policy nationwide?
So he has signaled he does support a 6-week ban. Lawmakers in the state are moving forward with that. I think it's very interesting that they're doing that post the midterm election. He did not run on that specifically in the midterm cycle. Now, of course, as he potentially likely eyeing a 2024 bid for the presidency, he's been hit by both people on the left and the right for his stance on abortion. People on the left hitting him over his stance on abortion and restricting access to abortion, but people on the right saying he doesn't go far enough, so potentially leaning into this ahead of a primary, a tough primary against President Donald Trump. But, I think it's very interesting with this Texas ruling. We saw a lot of silence from Republicans when it comes to this specific court ruling. I think that says a lot about where they're thinking, not wanting to weigh in on that just yet.
Sarah Ewall-Wice, thank you so much for staying on top of this issue.